Today we're going to talk about what exactly critical reading is. What does it mean to read? You've taken this class, but I'm pretty sure all of you know how to read already. So we're going to kind of delve into this very first course competency about critical reading in the contemporary world. So get your paper out. I'd like you to take a few minutes to write down your response to this on a piece of paper, and this is your best guess, so don't take too much time. You can stop the video and write down your answer to this, and then click back on when you are finished. Describe the nature of critical reading and its application to life in the contemporary world. Take a minute to write that down and then come back. So you've written that down, and now I want to talk a little bit about what does it mean to read. So here are some sentences, and I want you to ask you questions about what they mean. The quick brown fox jumps over the lazy dog. Why would somebody write that? Why would somebody write, is that really about a brown fox that jumped over something? Actually, the purpose of this statement was for handwriting practice or keyboarding practice, because it has every letter of the alphabet in it. It really is not meant to be read and understood. What about this phrase, I want the whole enchilada? When you read that, does that mean you are really hungry for lunch? Or does it mean something else? Does it mean that you want everything life has to offer? How about a grocery list by bread, eggs, and milk? If you sent someone to the store to buy bread and eggs and milk, and they came back with the wrong kind of bread or the wrong size of eggs or the wrong kind of milk, would you say that they had not read your list? How about this? Juan es estudiante en la escuela secundaria. I read that beautifully, I know, but do you know what it means? And do I know what it means, even though I read it beautifully? Try this one. Can you read this one? Post hoc ergo propter hoc. Do you know what it means when you've read it? In my field, when people read out loud, but they don't understand it, we don't call it reading. We call it word calling. If you knew how to pronounce the words in this language, you might be able to word call it. I can't even word call it. I don't know Russian. How about this statement? 'Twas brillig and the slithy toes did gyre and gimble in the wave. All mimsy were the borogoves and the mom rats out grave. Okay, sounds like English. Sounds like something you don't know, so maybe it's Old English. This is actually a poem from Lewis Carroll that is filled with nonsense words. So you shouldn't be expected to know brillig or tove or gyle and gimble, but you do know that a tove is something because it's slithy, and you know slithy is a way to describe it, and you know gyre and gimble are verbs. You know enough about your language to know those things, even though you read it, you can pronounce the words, but you don't know what they mean. How about this? When in the course of human events it becomes necessary for one people to dissolve the political bands which have connected them with another, and to assume among the powers of the earth the separate and equal station to which the laws of nature and of nature's God entitle them, a decent respect to the opinions of mankind require that they should declare the cause which impel them to the separation. My guess is you know what the word human means. You know events. You know the word course. You know what necessary means. You know what the word dissolve means. But putting it together and paraphrasing this is much more difficult than just knowing what words mean. Could you paraphrase this sentence? And it is just one sentence. It's from the Declaration of Independence. So really, what does it mean to read? Well, to delve into this, we need to look at the 3 levels of reading. You can take notes on this because there are 3 levels. There's literal level of reading, the interpretive or inferential level, and then the critical level. And our class is about this right here. The literal level is when you read on the lines. You read what the author says. It's the surface meaning. So when you get the grocery list that says buy bread, eggs, and milk, you buy bread and eggs and milk. When you hear, I want the whole enchilada, you are talking about not wanting to share your lunch that day. The interpretive level, though, is reading between the lines. It's when you understand what the author meant, but didn't say. You recognize inferences, tone, connotative language. So if you know that the person in your household who is asking for the groceries wants brown bread and large eggs and 2% milk, you know that from them because of your past experiences, because of the guesses you make when you infer from what you already know about that person, then you will read that grocery list with an interpretive eye or on the inferential level, and you'll buy that type of bread or eggs and milk. The literal level, the critical level, critical reading is going beyond that. It's judging, evaluating, asking critical questions, and creating new meaning. So I'm going to give you an example here. Here's a tale about Donna. And this is what typically a good reader will do. They will make guesses all along the way. So, for example, if I read this, Donna flew through the door and dove. Well, if I stop right there and I see, okay, what flies and dives? Well, birds do. Maybe Donna's a bird. I might think that until I read this next sentence, into a seat in the back of the room. So now I don't think Donna is a bird that's flying and diving. I think that Donna is a student going into a seat in the back of the room. I don't know if I'm right or wrong until I read the next section. The boss came up to her and said with a frown, "Where's the Pomeroy file?" Okay. So she can't be a student because she wouldn't have a boss if she was in the back of a classroom. She must be a secretary because she's got a file that she's in charge of, and she's got a boss. I think she's a secretary. "I'm not sure," she said. "Let me see if my secretary found it yet." Well, now I don't think she's a secretary anymore. Secretaries generally don't have their own secretaries. But she has a boss, and she has a secretary. I'm thinking now that she must be in middle management. "Okay, let me know if you decide to fire him." Well, now I still have a lot of questions. I don't know who she would fire. Is she going to fire her secretary? Is she going to fire Pomeroy? The only way for me to find out this information is to ask more questions. This is what good readers typically do when they read. They ask questions. They make guesses. Their guesses can be wrong, but what makes them a good reader is that they make the guess. Let's talk a little bit about the two types of reading. We talked about that's more of a literal level, but I want to look at inferential level and critical reading by this second tale of Donna. It starts the same way. Donna flew through the door and dove into a seat in the back of the room. I think she's a student. The teacher, I already know now that my guess was right. The teacher turned from the blackboard with a benign smile and saw only a sea of attentive faces smiling back. Suddenly, the classroom door jerked open, and Mr. Headley filled its space with its puffing frame. "Who just now came into the room?" he sputtered between gasps. The students, in solidarity with Donna, remained silent under his angry glare. "I'll suspend every one of you if I don't find out," he roared. After a few more seconds of silence, punctuated by his rapid breaths, he stomped away, defeated. Here are some questions I'd like you to answer. And you can answer these on your paper or just talking out loud to yourself as you go through these, click through these. Mr. Headley is an administrator. What do you think? Perhaps so, because he has the power to suspend people. So in a school, administrators are the only ones with that power. Mr. Headley was chasing Donna, but didn't know who she was. Well, he asked who came into the room, so he didn't know who it was, and he was sputtering it between gasps as if he was out of breath. So maybe that is what happened. Donna had done something wrong. I think she had done something wrong because when he asked this question, she did not fess up. Mr. Headley has a good relationship with the students in general. I'm not really sure that that's true. For one thing, he was going to suspend them for not talking. That seems kind of mean. He's angry at them. And they didn't talk. They didn't give her up. So I don't think that they really like him all that much. Her classmates feel sympathy with Donna. Well, they did stay silent. In fact, it says right here that they remained silent in solidarity with her. Those are kind of all supported by the text, so I think that works. How about this? Donna had just lit a fire in the girls' restroom. There's really no evidence that had happened. But could it be true? Could it be that that's exactly what happened, and that's why she came into the room, and that's why he was running after her, and that's why she didn't say who she was? Could it be that this is really what went on? And it's not that he was being mean. In order to get to this place, we have to be a critical reader, and we can't get there without asking more questions. This text may not, on its face, support this, but because it doesn't disregard it, we still have to see that it may be a true option. So let me go back to this and fill this in for you. When we read interpretively, which is how we did with the first questions about Mr. Headley, we read sympathetically. We try to understand, what is the author trying to tell us? We try to get what the author said. But critical reading goes beyond that. We're not necessarily trying to get what the author said. We're trying to understand the author, but we have to read it skeptically. We have to ask questions so that we can understand it without being taken. If that article about Mr. Headley and Donna had been written for the student paper, it may be that the students are trying to sway me one way or the other for something that was vandalism on the school. The truth might lie somewhere else. And that's what critical reading is about, reading it skeptically. So how do we do this? We do this by asking questions. Good readers always ask questions. Good critical readers will ask all sorts of questions that we will be delving into as our semester progresses. And you might notice that these are titles or questions that I have centered around the themes of our class. So go back to this piece of paper that you first wrote on, and I want you to revise your response if you need to. And then check on Canvas for more information about what to do about the levels of reading and our first course competency describing the nature of critical reading and its application to life in the contemporary world.